Welcome back into the Sean Podcast. We are back, healthy and stronger than ever. No injuries today. Going to talk some football for you, give you that amateur opinion, because we are definitely not experts. Sean, how about you give the people a little bit of your what's on your mind?
Hey, what's up, and welcome back, football family. We missed you. If you're new, come on in, take your shoes off, have a seat. I'll give you the Wi-Fi code. That way you can go on PFF's website and start doing mock draft simulators. I gotcha. I'll get you the hookup.
Or the Draft Network, or what is it? There's another one out there. There's all sorts of avenues where you can do mock drafts, check out prospects, do what we do and pretend you're smart. Yeah.
Just like we do. Just like we do.
All right. So, let's get in the mix. It's been a week since we put anything out there, and there's been a lot of news. Starting with this past Friday. Sean, how about you update them on the wackiness, shabackiness that went on Friday?
Oh man, this is what makes the offseason so fun, is seeing the transactions and moves, all the anticipation that's building up to the draft. And we had what I want to say are two huge draft-related trades.
Big time.
And we're a month out from the draft.
Yeah, it's a little early.
That's crazy. I don't mind it though. I'd like to see a little bit more, right? A little bit more chaos into the world. It was very fun. And it was all centered around the Miami Dolphins. First move the Dolphins made. Now the Dolphins were sitting in the number 3 pick. They traded out of the number 3 spots to San Francisco. So now San Francisco has number 3 pick, and in return, Miami was given the number 12 pick, a 2022 first rounder, a 2023 first rounder, and then they got a third rounder in the 2022 draft from San Francisco. So they got a lot in that move back to that number 12 spot.
Oh, but that's not it, is it?
No, that's not it. But wait, there's more. Because literally moments after this trade had been finalized and announced, Miami made a second trade. They're playing Madden. That's what I'm thinking. John Lynch. That's at Miami. Not John Lynch. Oh goodness, who's a GM down in Miami? Oh, his name escapes me right now. But he is playing Madden, right? He's like, well, let's see how many trades I can pull off. So he does it again. So now Miami's sitting at number 12. Now they trade up to the number 6 spot. They trade up to where Philadelphia was. So.
No, but when you think about it, this is smart. So Miami, they're going all in on Tua. And for all those people who are, I'm going to address some stuff coming up. But let's say they were going to take that one player who is a sense of contention on this pod, extremely rich, to take him at the number 3 spot. But what I was saying for Miami, he fits it so perfectly. They already have 2 wide receivers that are kind of in the Ja'Marr Chase mold. But if they trade back a little bit, not just did they trade back, then trade up. They still get an extra 1. And they probably still get the guy they want, which is probably Devonta Smith.
Probably. You're thinking, in the end, Miami came away winners in all of this, because over the next 3 drafts, they have 5 first-round picks and they have 4 second-round picks.
And who's to say there's not another trade that could happen? Let's be honest.
Hey.
Let's say Atlanta takes something other than a quarterback or doesn't trade out. Cincy, we're pretty sure that's either Ja'Marr Chase or an offensive lineman. All of a sudden, let's say the Panthers, who have not been shy to show that they want a new quarterback. Or let's say the Detroit Lions, who, let's be honest, you really think they're going all in on Jared Goff?
They're not going all in this season. It doesn't matter. Yeah.
Now, another little tidbit, because I think we learned a lot from these trades. First part, you got to think that the Niners tried to trade the number 2 first. And I mean, I guess it came out that the Niners said nothing materialized there. And like, did not materialize because the New York was like, we're taking a quarterback, so piss off.
And it's very interesting to note that the trades happened, I think it was just minutes before BYU's Pro Day was set to begin. And who was at the BYU Pro Day? Jets were there. Like, pretty much all 31 of the teams were there. The only team that wasn't there was the Rams, because they don't have a first round pick.
Now,
so they were the only team not there.
Speaking of Zach Wilson, Adam Schefter let a little bit slip. I think he spoke a little out of pocket, because he came out with a report saying that Philadelphia wanted to go up and get a quarterback. But once they found out that Zach Wilson wasn't going to be there, that's the guy they wanted, they decided, let's go back. The next thing you know, he's putting a retraction and kind of wording it differently. So I think he got his hand slapped for taking away some of the draft intrigue, saying, oh, well, now we know the Jets are taking Zach Wilson. Like that's something we didn't know already.
So in a way, you're thinking Jalen Hurts is a winner because Philadelphia trades back to number 12, so they're no immediate threat to take a quarterback because they just dropped back 6 spots. But at the same time, Jalen Hurts has to be considered a loser of this trade because you got that thinking in the back of your mind saying, well, they wanted to trade up. They wanted to get a quarterback.
Not just that. When you think about it, let's say Carson Wentz plays 75% of Indy snaps, or Indy makes the playoffs, which could happen. All of a sudden, next year, Philly gets a first-round pick from Indy. They have their first-round pick, and now they have another first-round pick from San Francisco in this trade. That's 3 first-round picks in next year's draft. Well, they like a QB then.
Could be. They have a lot of time to scout it, but I don't think next year's quarterback class is going to be quite as strong or as good as this one is.
Yeah, I hear people saying this, and let's be honest. Will it be as strong? Probably not, from the standpoint that there's not a Trevor Lawrence, but no one else is the Jaguars. So, how do we know when Zach Wilson before last year? Did you hear about him? Was he on a watch list?
Very true.
Or
true.
Joe Burrow, was he on a watch list?
Yeah. Joe Burrow, I think, was considered a late round draft pick before he had that just exploding year. Yeah.
You get what I'm saying? And then you got guys like Sam Howell, who have played well and are considered very good quarterbacks. Sam Howell, and then the guy from Oklahoma. His name escapes me. But these guys are guys who could easily have a bigger jump, especially if they have more of a normalized off season and regular season.
Yeah.
Just saying, don't sleep on players because we haven't gotten there yet. Could this be
But at least last year, looking ahead to this draft, we're thinking Trevor Lawrence is coming out. Trevor Lawrence. Like, we had somebody to look forward to. At this moment, we don't have that person to look forward to.
Right, but I mean, Justin Fields, Trey Lance, they had the same type of buzz as guys like Howell and Spencer Rattler. That's the guy from Oklahoma.
There we go.
And then
who
there's
knows?
the guy from USC whose name I can't pronounce.
I'm not going to try it either.
I can't pronounce it.
Hey, but maybe Bo Nix from Auburn does really well this year and throws himself into that first round category, right?
All right. Full disclosure, I put out there on Twitter that a lot of people have Bo Nix on a watch list. And then I got a lot of flack for it. because Bo Nix has not been good. But I tried to tell people, you never know the jump that a quarterback can have. Now, I don't see it because of Auburn's offense. Auburn doesn't, their offense doesn't provide the leeway for quarterbacks to grow. Just, trolling me on the pod. What is that?
I had to give you a chance to publicly defend yourself. I guess you were publicly defending yourself on Twitter as well. So.
Well, I mean, you never know. That's all I'm saying, especially with these quarterbacks. Some can rise, some can fall. Look what happened with Jamie Newman. Jamie Newman was a watch list, and he fell. It just depends on how things go. Jarrett Stidham. A lot of people love Jarrett Stidham. And I'm pretty sure he went to Auburn, didn't he?
He did.
No room for growth. That's all I'm saying. Now, moving on. We do have some free agency news.
Yeah, we have a couple nice signings that were out there. One that I really liked was wide receiver Sammy Watkins signing with the Baltimore Ravens. Finally giving Lamar Jackson that number one wide receiver that he's been lacking this entire time.
And to you people who think Sammy Watkins isn't a number one receiver, you're wrong. Now note, he's got health issues, but when he's on the field, he's got that talent. just letting you know, the guy can ball.
Yeah, I really love this move by Baltimore, but he has to stay healthy for it all to work. That's
it
key
is
for
true.
Everything.
It is true, and just to take a shot, Heiko, you're gonna love Sammy. Just letting you know, that's my buddy who's a Baltimore Ravens fan. You're gonna love Sammy. Stop the Sammy slander. I need to trademark that.
Stop the Sammy slander. I like that. That could also apply to our other podcasts too. So
this is true.
Just change the spelling of it, and then we're good. Yeah. Nice. But a second move that I liked for this past week was Kansas City Chiefs signing defensive tackle Jarran Reed.
Man, horse here.
You're giving them another good defensive player. Somebody's going to come in and be that rotational piece to your already loaded defensive line that includes Chris Jones and Frank Clark.
Okay.
Although they're known for their offense, Kansas City is, it almost seems like quietly, silently building themselves an even better defense.
All right, so this is where I'm going to get a little bit out of football mode because this signings like this make me mad. So certain, let's say, biases on teams are placed with signings like this. Nobody bats an eye when KC signs a player like Jarran Reed, when they draft a Tyreek Hill, when they trade for Frank Clark. And if you don't know, each of these players have domestic violence issues. But let's say a team like, maybe the Cowboys, sign them. Oh my God, we have a major issue on the hands. And here's the thing: I'm not trying to trivialize domestic violence. That's a serious subject. Some of the stuff I have heard about these guys, they should be suspended, and not a single one of them has been suspended. Yet, if you're on the Cowboys, all you need is an accusation to get suspended. That's all I'm saying.
Who knows? I know we were talking earlier in the week. I think it has to do with that market size. How big is your franchise? I think like Kansas City, small franchise. Granted, they've been to the Super Bowl 2 consecutive years.
Franchise when it comes to this.
I know. But what were you saying earlier? It's like a double standard that's created. If the Cowboys have somebody who's in the news for something that's how would you even describe that? Something negative. We'll just say negative. It's gonna be made a big deal of. Look what happened with Zeke a couple of years ago.
That's who I was inferring.
Yeah. So, but moving on, so we don't get you all riled up.
Right.
The Tampa Bay Buccaneers re-signed playoff Lenny Leonard Fournette, and I think this is a great move because Tampa Bay has pretty much re-signed everybody who was on their Super Bowl team.
Yes,
They're
they
coming
have.
back with the same team, the same players, which means this year are they going to be that much more dangerous? Because last year they didn't have a full offseason to prepare. They didn't hit their stride until after their bye week. Now you give them a full year, you give them a full cycle in the playoffs, and now you're giving them a full offseason. Oh man, this team just looks like it's going to be a lot better given that they've had a full year together.
Now there's another signing out there. I just want to know, is he worthwhile? Because I don't know. I know he struggled early on, and then he got better. But is Colton Miller worth the money that he's been paid?
The arrow is trending in the right direction. They're paying for potential. It's trending in the right direction. You figure they got rid of 60% of their offensive line. They had to keep somebody, and they probably got rid of the other players to free up the cap space because they knew they were going to be re-signing or giving the extension to Colton Miller. So maybe that was a plan all along. Maybe.
Any other free agency news?
Nothing that I have down for free agency that really stood out to me. But other news that came out today that's NFL related is the NFL owners approved a 17-game season, which goes into effect this year. So your key points are, this is the first time the schedule has been changed like this since 1978, when they went to the 4-game preseason, the 16-game regular season. So now you have 3 preseason games, you have 17 regular season games. Each team only gets 1 bye week. The season starts at the same time, but now it's going to end a week later. So now this year, your Super Bowl is going to be played on February 13th. So clear your calendars for February 13th because that's this year's Super Bowl.
Now,
And, yeah.
I'm also triggered. We need to adjust how we vote for the Hall of Fame. Because, 17 games, stats are inflated. Come on, people. We need to adjust for the time period. Just because somebody is 6th on the list doesn't mean that they were as great as somebody who may be, let's say, 12th on the list, depending on their time period that they played.
Yeah. Yeah, you're thinking any of those single season records, you're thinking now players have an extra week, an extra game. So when you have a player who, like take J.J. Watt in his prime, how he was approaching the single season sack record.
Right.
What would have happened if you would have given him 17 games to accomplish that in?
He would have got it.
Now he gets that record, but how fair is that when you're comparing it to Michael Strahan? How fair is that? Because Strahan did it with the 16-game season. Now you have Watt doing it with the 17-game season.
And then you got guys before they even recorded it. Guys like Deacon Jones, Ed Too Tall Jones.
Yeah, before there were
Randy
official
White.
stats. Yeah.
You gotta go back and some of the certain things are skewed. Or let's just take Dan Marino. Dan Marino's records, I think, matter more than Tom Brady breaking them.
Yeah, because when Marino set those records, the players weren't chucking the ball 50 times a game.
No, they weren't.
There was more of a balance between the run game and the pass game. And back then, Dan Marino had Larry Zonka, so you're handing the ball off. You're just letting him bulldoze people, plow them over.
True.
But, now you have quarterbacks easily throwing between 40 and 50 passes per week, and that's normal.
Yeah, but they're doing this as a result of Dan Marino. That's the thing. Dan Marino created this style of football. Sad he never got a Super Bowl ring.
For real.
Anyways, moving on.
Yeah, so this is your week 17. Your Cowboys get to go visit New England. They get to go to
Yeah, I know all
Foxborough
about
this
it
year.
already.
My Packers get to travel to Kansas City, and for you Bear fans out there, you guys get to go to Las Vegas. So it's not too bad for you guys.
Well,
Not
we'll
too
see.
bad. Yeah. I mean, the initial thoughts are, you know, as a fan, you become excited for a 17-week season. You're like thinking, yes, one more week I have for fantasy football, one more week I have for watching my team in the regular season, one more week of football action. It's great for the league because now their season is extended by one more week, and you're going to have those revenue benefits from an additional week there. But what about the players,
Well,
right?
also, what does this mean for, like, let's say, because we talked the other week about Ryan Fitzpatrick? He needs to be on a pitch count. What's this mean for Ben Roethlisberger, whose arm
Yeah.
looked dead at the end of last year?
Yeah.
What's this
Like,
mean for guys like that?
I'm excited for an extra week, right? Because I'm a fan. I'm a fan of football. But I also know what their bodies go through on a weekly basis. I mean, not that I've experienced, but you see it.
Right.
You see those injuries. You see how they're worn down at the end of the year. And let's be honest, this is a violent sport. And what I don't want to see is I don't want to see an extra week of football if it's going to be watered down because you have players who are take the game off, because again, you only have one bye week, and for some of those teams like the Packers, their bye week always seems to be like week 5 or 6. Now that
Look what
means you have
happened
to
this
go
year.
the whole rest of the season without rest.
Look what happened last year. How many teams took week 16 off? Like honestly.
Yeah, if you're out of playoff contention, why are you going to put your team out there?
Even teams in playoff contention. You saw the Steelers.
Kansas City.
You
Kansas
saw
City smartly
Kansas
benched their
City.
team. Pittsburgh already knew what that playoff matchup was going to look like. It's like,
Right.
why even risk it? Just, put your bench in there. So that's what I don't want to see. I don't want to see teams benching because it's the end of the season. Now you're worn down an extra little bit more because you have an extra game to play. I mean, when you compare it to the other major sports out there, how many times do you see NBA players take games off because they're managing minutes? Right? How many times in baseball do you see a starter who skipped the rotation because they have to manage his innings, don't want him throwing too many innings? Like you see it in all the major sports, basketball, baseball, and I don't want that to happen in football.
They do it in hockey also.
Hockey, they do a pretty good job of cycling out throughout the game, but hockey's they're
some
moving that
players
entire
do take
game.
time off. Some players do take.
Yeah. And I fear that the same thing is going to happen with football, and that's going to begin watering down the game. It's not going to be as good, not going to be as exciting. And then how soon does the NFL say, you know what, a 17-game season's good, but you know what's better? 18 games.
But then all right. Also with that, when do minor injuries become bigger deals? So an injury that like a player would normally try to work through, you get an extra game in there. Okay, we can sit them one more game.
Yeah, I think a lot of that's going to depend on where does your bye week sit, because again, you just have 1 week off for this entire 18-week season. You got 1 week off.
And let's not even talk about the fantasy football implications. I mean, maybe they do need more than one bye week now. You want more games? Get another bye week.
Yeah, I think in my mind, if they're going to an 18-game season at any point, you have to consider a second bye week for all teams in there. Just for the players' safety alone, these guys are putting their bodies through a lot. They're literally smashing into each other all game long.
Not to mention the revenue these guys are going to be getting because apparently they're anticipating full stadiums. So, hey.
So the league is a winner. The league gets the revenue. In a way, the players get more of that revenue as well. But
In a way.
But what are they
Yeah, one more game
sacrificing?
check.
They're sacrificing their health. How many people have suffered season-ending injuries, career-ending injuries, and now you're saying, hey, one more game that may or may not be meaningless. We don't know yet.
All right, moving on. We're going to continue our draft segments. This week it's cornerback. So, we're going to start off with you, Sean. Oh, yeah. Always got to put you on the spot.
I know why you're starting with me, because I'm going to give you my cornerback hot take at number 5.
All right, who we got going at number 5?
And this is hard because if you'd have asked me 2 weeks ago, this order would have been completely different because of this guy, right? My number 5 guy is going to be Caleb Farley, Virginia Tech, which is really surprising because if we would have had this conversation 2 weeks ago, I would have been pushing to have him at the top of my list. Number 1, maybe number 2, but here we are. And it's not just the surgery that bothers me, right?
Well, let's hear it.
It's the surgery that's coupled with a few other things that have just been simmering in my mind over the past couple days, the past week. So when I look at Caleb Farley, I see a guy with wide receiver size playing defense. Now, that's not a bad thing, and especially when you think about his speed. He's got a great combination of size and speed.
Well, he was a former wide receiver, so...
Exactly. He was recruited as a wide receiver. I mean, he played quarterback in high school. He was recruited as a wide receiver for Virginia Tech. He suffered a torn ACL his first season, so he had to sit that out. He comes back his second year as a cornerback. He makes another position change there. He made some plays, but you didn't see the consistency that you wanted to see. I mean, rightfully so. It was his first year at cornerback. And the following season, 2019, is when he started putting it all together. Now, where it gets interesting is before that 2019 season started, he injured his back doing a deadlift, which resulted in a herniated disc. Now, that season, he played through back spasms, and it caused him to miss the final 2 games of the year. But that 19 tape was so good that if he would have entered that 19 draft or that 20 draft, he may have been the second cornerback off the board after Ohio State's Jeff Okudah. The tape looked that good. But he opts out due to health reasons, due to COVID. You can't blame him for that. Now, I want to see him be successful. But if I'm a GM, he can't be one of the first cornerbacks I'm going to take. Now, some team at the end of the first round, maybe even beginning of the second round, depending on how far he falls, is going to get a steal when they select him. There's positives to the game. He's got the size, he's got the speed, he's got that combination. That 19 tape showed he was good, but it also showed that he is not a finished product. He's got the highest ceiling of anybody in this draft class. But for me, there's a few more questions and a few more negatives, and I just don't know all that information. Which is, we saw that good 19 tape from him, but I wanted to see more. I wanted more consistency, considering that was his first year at cornerback, or his first full year starting at cornerback. Those medical checks will be important. Now, the medical history isn't quite at a red flag for me, but it's closer to red than I want it to be. I think he had, when he first suffered the herniated disc, I think he had a minor surgery at that time, came back, played, still had the back spasms, and then here we are now. He was originally supposed to get that second surgery done after the 19 season, but he figured with 2020 not playing due to COVID, he was going to let it rest and let it heal, and it sounds like it just flared up in the last about month or two to the point where he needed to get that surgery done now. But we haven't seen any football activity from him since 2019, and that's what makes it a little bit scary for me. But again, I don't have all the information, but what I do know, there's some questions there. So he's coming at number 5 for me.
All right, so I got less questions than you, but we'll get to that because I'm gonna let everybody know already he's higher on my list. So we're gonna go to my number 5 guy, and this I guess is my kind of shocking take for some people, but for others they will understand, and that is Georgia cornerback Eric Stokes. I really like Eric Stokes. He's longer and bigger than what people thought he was going to be. He is a player who definitely benefited from playing in 2020. He's a ball hawk. He had 4 interceptions for the Bulldogs. The ball just seems to find his hands. He is by far more of a raw product. He there's a lot of upside here, but he does have a lot to learn. Yes, Georgia plays more of a cover 1, cover 3, but I mean, let's take that with a grain of salt before we say he can't play in other systems. That being said, nothing wrong with cover 1, cover 3. I know a team that plays that. But he is very quick. Ran a 4.25. I think it was, I think it was like a 4.25 40. That's blazing fast. And I mean, it matters, though those seconds matter. But he does show good technique. It's just there is some work that needs to be done with this game.
Yeah, Eric Stokes, he did not make my list, but that's not saying he wasn't good last year or hasn't been good the past couple of years. I think that just shows the depth of the cornerback class, because you're going to get talent into the second and third rounds. Really good talents. And it all depends on what are you looking for, because there's so much that you can do with your cornerbacks. You play them man-to-man. Do you play them zone? Do you look for a guy to press at the line of scrimmage? What are you looking for? So I think it's very similar to when we were talking about our linebackers. Like, pick your flavor. Which one do you want?
True.
What are you looking for? So Eric Stokes did not make my list. But coming at number 4 for me is the son of Pro Bowl and All-Pro cornerback, Asante Samuel Sr. You got it, Asante Samuel Jr. He's coming at number 4 for me. Now, he may not have the best size, right? He's checking in at 5'10", about $180, but his man cover skills are good enough to play on the outside. He can move inside. He can play against the slot. He's got quick feet, and that's going to make it really hard for the opposing wide receivers to get any separation from him. And his awareness is outstanding. Now, he plays with aggression, just like Pops did. He's got plenty of pass breakups, but the scouts may have a question about the number of interceptions. I think he ended his career with Florida State with about 4 interceptions. Now, scouts are going to come back, they're going to criticize his size, but he plays much bigger than his size, just like his dad. His dad checked in the league, he was 5'11", I think 185, and he enjoyed a very, very productive 11-year career that saw him make 4 Pro Bowl teams. He was first team All-Pro 2 times, second team All-Pro 1 time, led the league in interceptions twice. Oh, and he won 2 Super Bowls. How about that?
Yeah, he did, but we're not talking about the father. We're talking about the son.
Talk about the son, but the son looks an awful lot like the father. It was like Asante Samuel 2.0, no pun intended.
Now, I'll give him this. He was a bright spot in a very, very dark abyss called Florida State. just keeping it real there.
It's not like you're lying. Yeah.
I will say this. Some teams, not all, but some teams will worry about the size. He is a little undersized. And like his father, he is aggressive. Now, when it comes to the interceptions, I don't think scouts should focus on that, because, I mean, interceptions can be fluky. The thing with interceptions, if the ball comes to you, catch it. That's more so where I want to judge it. If the ball hits him in his hands, does he have bricks for hands, or can he catch the ball? Because if you got good ball skills and the ball just didn't really get in that placement to come to him, that's not his fault. Now, no, Asante Samuel Jr. isn't on my list. Nothing against him as a player. I think he would be at number 6 for me. So it's not like he's falling that far. It's just I value length a little bit more in some areas. My number 4 guy is Greg Newsome II at Northwestern. Now, this guy, out of all the cornerbacks that we're going to show you today, he's one of those guys who can truly play in any system. He's got good speed. He's got solid length. He's right there at the threshold marks. and with his technique and skill, like people wondered how's Northwestern giving a guy like Justin Fields troubles. Well, Greg Newsome is one of the reasons. the he's very sticky. He's got great makeup speed, and he's got good instincts.
Yeah, I agree with all of that because Greg Newsome actually checked in at number 3 for me. So I got him as my number 3 guy. Now he benefited greatly from that Big Ten season, even though it was a shortened season, because it saw his draft stock rise. What did we see? We saw a smooth moving cornerback who doesn't get caught out of position very often. He's great at playing the deep ball. I think last year teams tried to target him 15 times on targets of 10 plus yards. Only one of those he allowed for a catch. At the end of the season, he was playing well against Ohio State, but he had to exit the game a little bit early due to a groin injury. He wasn't able to return. I would have liked to have seen more tape from Ohio State, but what he showed, he did pretty good. Now, is there going to be a little bit of a durability concern since I don't think he's played a full college season? There might be, see. But when he's on the field, he just puts out a lot of positive tape.
All right. Now we're coming around, and my number 3 guy is Caleb Farley at Virginia Tech. And the first thing I'm going to say, and I'll say this, I'll agree with you here. The medicals matter. But the medical, not my understanding, this was a minor cleanup surgery. It didn't really have any regard on him being a player or not. He probably could have played without it, but this is something to get done, so it's preventative for anything further down the line. That being said, neither you or me had MD at the end of our names or DR at the beginning of our names. So we got to go straightly based on what we know. And what we know, this kid is supposed to come back healthy by training camp, and he might have the best instincts out of any corner in this draft. Just pure instincts was what he showed a little bit in 2018, but definitely in 2019. Mm-hmm. Not to mention, on top of that, maybe Eric Stokes rivals him a little bit. He literally has the best ball skills. If the ball hits him in the hand, he's getting it. He brings those wide receiver skills over to the cornerback spot, but his aggressive nature helps him with that. Not to mention, apparently it was recorded before he did his surgery. They ran a 4.26 40. Now, this kid is not a small guy. He's plus 200 pounds.
6'2", 207. Yeah.
Like, that's insane athletic ability. With the fact that he has shown good tape, and he's not a finished product, as you said, anywhere close. Now, note, the surgery scared me off, considering the other 2 guys I have above, which you do too. These other 2 guys are more finished products, plus they don't have that possible injury concern. But with that said, this is, like you said, the guy with probably some of the best upside, not just at the cornerback spot, in all of the draft.
Yeah. I really think that his draft stock will fall, which is unfortunate because had it not been for the back surgery so close to the draft, all of this could look completely different for him. So you're thinking short term, he's losing millions of dollars, but there's going to be some team. They're going to take him at the end of the round 1. They're going to take him at beginning of round 2. It's going to be a steal.
Oh,
absolute steal.
Also with that, the back issues, I think they can be corrected. Because from what I've heard from other areas, it's possibly something with his technique that could be causing them. So it's something just with his pre-stance. If you clear up that pre-stance, May not have an issue throughout his career.
He just needs the right coaching, right? He just needs the right
true.
coach to teach him the right technique. Yeah.
All right.
I hope it works for him. I hope he's successful.
Your number 2 guy?
My number 2 guy is also the son of a former Pro Bowl player. This time it's son of Pro Bowl wide receiver Joe Horn, J.C. Horn from South Carolina. Now, you want a cornerback who's got swagger, who's got bravado? J.C. Horn will not disappoint. Last week he was telling reporters, I feel like I'm the best defensive player in the draft. Not just best cornerback. He comes out and says, I feel like I'm the best defensive player in the draft. And if there's any position that values bravado and swagger, cornerback. You want that in your cornerback.
Hey, I'll take it.
Exactly.
Give me some of that Dion.
Now, what did we see at South Carolina? We saw him develop into a shutdown corner. He's quick to locate the football. Now, his game may need a little bit of refinement at that next level. He's a physical corner, which could be good for him, but there are also some times where he was a little bit too physical. I think he had 5 penalties last season, but that's something you can teach. Right? You can teach that, but what you can't teach is his intensity. That's what he brings.
No, you can't teach the way he goes after it. This is a guy who's going to go... play in, play out. He's gonna give it that 150%, and he's gonna hit hard, and he's gonna get a little attitude in the some physicalities. Now that being said, he is also my number 2 player. Only reason. Well, I'll say this, it's very close actually for me. Note, he ain't wrong in some degrees. Depending on who you like, the best defensive player in this draft is a cornerback. It's just one of these top 2 that we have here. And some people have J.C. Horn over, who we obviously both have at number 1. And I don't hate on them. I have these guys very close. I'd have Caleb Farley just as close if he was healthy. This is quietly a really good cornerback class. Mm-hmm. There's guys that aren't on our list that are really good. They're going to be really good corners for some teams. This is a deep class and a really good class. But the top end, with J.C. Horn, but especially the top 2 right now, J.C. Horn, and how about you tell them about your number 1 guy?
Number 1 guy, also son of a former Pro Bowl football player, Patrick Surtain. This time it's Patrick Surtain II. Now, where Caleb Farley has the highest ceiling of all the cornerback prospects, Surtain has the highest floor. On an Alabama team that's usually loaded in their secondary, it's going to be hard for your young players to see the field much, but guess what? 3-year starter for Nick Saban.
As a freshman.
Freshman, right? Yeah, it's not much of a surprise when you learn that his father was Pro Bowl cornerback Patrick Surtain of the Miami Dolphins, who also coached him in high school, who also coached a Georgia cornerback entering this draft. Not quite Eric Stokes, but your Tyson Campbell. Surtain and Campbell went to the same high school together. But what stands out about Surtain for me? The patience. And that's going to make it really difficult for quarterbacks trying to take advantage of any mistakes that he makes. He's a very patient player, so it's going to be hard to throw in his directions. Impressive thing about him, he had 0 penalties last season. He played, 14 games? 13, 14 games?
No, more than 14, did he?
Yeah, the playoffs, yeah. A lot of games, he had 0 penalties in there. Yeah, showing that discipline.
I myself also have Patrick Surtain II out of Alabama as my top corner. Yes, Yes, he is on my wish list. He had one question mark that everybody had on their list because everybody knew J.C. Horn was going to test out of his mind. No one thought he was going to be the highest graded testing cornerback of all time. Did you know that? In terms of metrics, J.C. Horn tested the highest of anybody ever.
Okay.
But Patrick Surtain II came out. Some teams had him running a 4.39. This is a guy who everybody thought was going to be a 4.55 guy. They think he's slow, but you mentioned it. He's not slow. He's just patient. He's got insane technique. This is a starting quarterback out the gate. He is your number one corner. Just put him on the field and let him work. And then think about who he practiced against all year. Your guy,
last couple of
Devonta
years.
Smith.
Yeah.
Waddle. Oh yeah, before that, Jerry Jeudy. Henry Ruggs.
Yeah.
I mean, and he's not a small guy. This is a big dude.
6'2", 202. Yeah.
No, he's up to 208.
All right, putting on some muscle. Okay.
Getting there. All right, so here are both our lists. Sean's list.
Yeah.
His number 5 guy.
It's gonna be a deep
Caleb
class.
Farley, Virginia Tech. Asante Samuel Jr. is number 4 guy for the state. Number 3, Greg Newsome the second, Northwestern. Number 2, J.C. Horn, South Carolina. And then number 1, Patrick Surtain the second, Alabama. My list. Number 5, Eric Stokes, Georgia. Number 4, Greg Newsome II, Northwestern. Number 3, Caleb Farley, Virginia Tech. Number 2, J.C. Horn, South Carolina. And number 1, Patrick Surtain II, out of Alabama.
And you're hoping he falls to number 10 and no one gets in the way.
Darn right, I'm hoping. I'm hoping 4 quarterbacks, 2 receivers, 1 tight end, and 2 tackles. I don't know, did that total 9?
It sounds like it did. 2 plus 2 plus 1 plus 1. 2 plus 1 plus 1 plus 2. Yeah.
I just threw all that out. All right, anyways. Moving on to our next segment. So we got a lot of content coming the next couple of weeks. We're going to have some crazy mock drafts coming up. So we got to get through some of these segments. So we're going to have some fun. We're doing 4 different years for our studs, steals, and busts segment. So starting with 2012. I'm going first. Sean has pushed to say I go first. So my stud, Luke Kuechly. There is nobody who is more consistent out of this draft than Luke Kuechly. I don't care if he retired early. This dude was one of the most consistent players that you could find out of a draft. Not to mention, I'm sorry, Bear fans, if Brian Urlacher's in the Hall of Fame, Luke Kuechly deserves to be in the Hall of Fame. Look at the numbers.
Absolutely. So my hit for this draft
Yep.
is also going to be a linebacker. The first one I had in mind was Luke Kuechly,
Kuechly.
but I had to go to the second round to find mine. Pick number 58, Tampa Bay Buccaneers select out of Nebraska, Lavonte David. And as we talked about, in that free agent segment we had weeks and weeks ago, he is probably one of, if not the most underrated player of his time in football.
Well, when you had Luke Kuechly out there, my bad. All right, so my steal. Someone in this pod is going to be very happy with my steal on this draft. Or he's going to be mad because I took his.
Yeah, we'll see.
I actually think his team had 2 steals in this draft. I just think this one had a bigger impact. I took, man, I'm going to butcher this name, man. David Bakhtiari.
David Bakhtiari.
Offensive lineman for the Green Bay Packers. I'm not sure what school he came out of. By the way, Luke Kuechly's BC, Boston College. Just so you know.
No, Bakhtiari was in the 2013 draft. I think you jumped a year ahead.
Did I jump a year ahead? I did jump a year ahead.
I'm like, wait.
So we already
minute.
know my 2013. No, my 2012. This was difficult. This is not a good draft in the tail end. I picked Josh Norman. I'm not happy about it, but he was a very good player for a good amount of time, and he's a veteran mentor now. So,
yeah, I felt the same way. I had Josh Norman on my list. Now, what I was trying to do is find players who late enough in the draft made that difference, but when I'm looking at this draft, I have to stop in the 3rd rounds. And I have to take a look at
3rd round.
I know 3rd round. Can you consider 3rd round a steal? Maybe. I mean, you can argue it's like it wasn't even the back of the 3rd. It was like beginning, middle of the 3rd. Whatever. He's a steal because 74 other teams picked ahead and didn't grab him. But I'm going with, out of Wisconsin, quarterback Russell Wilson.
Still a steal, but yeah.
Yeah, it's not as far back as I wanted it to be like a Josh Norman. I think my other option was going to be maybe like a Kirk Cousins, who was taken in the 4th rounds. But
by the way, Josh Norman is out of Coastal Carolina. Just throwing that part out there. Just to be thorough. All right, so we're gonna go to the bus. 2012. I got my list right here. I'm picking Justin Blackmon, wide receiver out of Oklahoma State. Stop. The Jags. I'm also picking Justin Blackmon because I remember. I don't know if it was Mel Kiper Jr. or it was Todd McShay. Well, no, this might have been Mike Mayock. It was Mike Mayock who said this. Came out and said Justin Blackmon was Des Bryant without the red flags. Stop. Now, how many years did Justin Blackmon play?
He played, I think, a little bit over 1 year before it was pretty much called quits for him. I mean, he came out of Oklahoma.
Before he decided he was a gangster?
Back-to-back unanimous All-American. Back-to-back Biletnikoff winner. You're thinking he gets drafted number 5 by Jacksonville.
He looks squeaky clean.
He did. I mean, after his productive season, he got popped with a 4-game substance abuse suspension.
And
then he returns. He returned from his suspension his 2nd year. He missed those first 4 games. He played 4 games, and then guess what? He got popped for violating the league's substance abuse policy again and was suspended indefinitely, and I don't think we've seen him since. So.
Oh, no, he got arrested for something.
Oh, so we didn't see him again.
Weapons charges and stuff like that. He's like a Maurice Claret.
Stay in school, kids. Stay in school.
You saw that coming. You saw Justin Blackmon.
Justin Blackmon was my number one bust for this, just because I've been on this Jacksonville Jaguar trend when it comes to my busts. So I wasn't even trying, but Justin Blackmon was right there. I'm like, how could I ignore this guy being taken number 5? Puts up a decent
Number 5.
Yeah. But I got to choose
Should've
somebody
been a
different.
stud, but
Oh yeah, he should have been. It wasn't very hard for me to find my bust for this one if I'm going different from Justin Blackmon. So I have to go the
there's a
team
lot.
that, yeah. I have to go the team that drafted 2 spots ahead when the Cleveland Browns,
I almost took him.
when they trade up to select running back Trent Richardson from Alabama, who is regarded as one of the best running back prospects in this draft. People thought he was the best running back prospect since Adrian Peterson.
Well, here's
Man.
the thing. All the talent in the world, no vision.
No vision, and maybe that affected his yards per carry, because even when his career in the NFL ended and he went to the AAF, the now defunct football league, in 8 games, he scores 11 touchdowns, which looks good and looks sexy on paper. But then you look at his yards per carry, 2.9.
Maybe the Rock will give him a chance.
9. Maybe.
All right, moving on to now the 2013 draft. My stud. We're going to go to a wide receiver that has produced, still in the league, still a monster, DeAndre Hopkins.
Mm-hmm.
Coming out of Clemson, was drafted by the Houston Texans.
Number
Currently on the
27.
Arizona Cardinals.
He was drafted number 27.
Hey. It was a weird time.
That was what wide receivers got drafted ahead of him? There was Tavon Austin, drafted number 8 by the St. Louis Rams. I bet they wish they can get that pick back. And then,
With all respect, though, Tavon, no one could have foresaw that he wasn't going to be good. He had amazing college tape. His college tape was fantastic. With that speed, with that tape, he should have been good at the next level.
yeah,
Should have. That doesn't always work out.
I know. I mean, he was like, what, 5'8", 5'9"? You couldn't put him on the outside.
Tyreek Hill.
Right, yep. Tyreek Hill's a good example.
Steve Smith. Deshaun Jackson.
Just keep going. Alrighty. So I had DeAndre Hopkins as one of my best picks. And really, when we look at it, this 2013 class, I don't want to say was horrible,
Meh.
but it was horrible. Like, who was your number one pick? Your number one pick came from Central Michigan. Eric Fisher, right?
He's still playing.
He is.
He's got a Super Bowl ring.
Now, I'm just saying, in any other draft, would he be number 1?
No.
No.
He shouldn't have been number 1 in that draft. There was question marks.
But who is going to be? Like, that was a horrible draft. Jacksonville picked number 2. It was... No. I'll get to that in a moment. But I'm going to fast forward to what I'm going to say.
I already talked about David Bakhtiari.
Now, he was my actual best pick for this draft, David Bakhtiari. He was the hit, and that's a 4th-round hit. Pick 109 out of Colorado.
You could pick the other Packer that turned out pretty well.
Who else turned out well from this draft for him?
Micah Hyde.
I wouldn't put Micah Hyde in that hits, like that franchise-altering hit. Now, he was a really good player. I was sad to see him leave Green Bay. It looks like he's doing really well in Buffalo, which kind of hurts to see. But, man.
Isn't that how all Packers DBs do?
Casey Hayward. Yeah. Green Bay. Keep Jair Alexander. Don't bring back Kevin King. Oh,
They
wait.
already brought back Kevin King.
You already did.
And Kevin King didn't have a bad year, did he?
No, I think I'm just a little bit sour for that bad game.
Yeah. But anyways,
Yeah. Moving on.
let's see. Who'd you pick as your you going with Bakhtiari?
Bakhtiari is my hits. Yep, I know he's your
right.
steal.
Well, it's Steele. Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, it's your steal.
All right.
All right.
Bust. No, Bakhtiari's both our steals. I thought, and you're.
Oh, my steal. Okay,
Oh,
my
who's your
steal.
steal?
Going third round again, just like the last draft. Not very far, but I'm going third round. I'm going pick number 63. Kansas City Chiefs select tight end Travis Kelce from the University of Cincinnati.
Steal.
That's a good pick.
Now, that being a good pick, you know what a bad pick is?
I got a couple lined up.
D. Milliner. Out of, I believe, Alabama.
Alabama.
Picked by the New York Jets. Did this dude even hit the field?
Oh, I'm sure he did.
I mean, I might have.
did.
He might have, but I didn't notice.
Yeah, where did New York take him? New York took him number 9.
Yeah.
Oh man.
It was not a good pick.
Yikes.
And your bust.
My bust. Well, I'm going back to the Jacksonville Jaguars because that just seems to be the theme of the decade for them.
The gift that keeps on giving.
I know. You say you go for that low-hanging fruit when it comes to these busts. I'm going for the low-hanging fruit. I'm going for Jacksonville because they just did horrible drafting this time. Now, this one, you can't blame them too much because it was just a horrible class overall, and I felt bad for Kansas City as number 1 pick because normally when you have like a number 1 pick, number 2 pick, like, yes, this is franchise-altering, except if it happens in 2000. Yep, it sure is. Rookie year, plays 5 games before he suffers a season-ending ankle injury. Goes into his second year. PFF says, you're one of the worst tackles in football. And then before the 2016 year, they announced they weren't going to pick up his 5th-year option, and then they moved him to guard. Womp, womp, womp.
Okay, moving on to 2014. Hey, Bear fans. You're going to love this. My 2014 stud is Khalil Mack. Regardless if he stayed on the Raiders, this dude's stud from the moment he got there. And he's a stud since the moment he got into Chicago. Still a stud to this day. And what school's he out of? Was Delaware?
No, Khalil Mack
No,
was
Buffalo.
Buffalo. Yes.
Buffalo. My bad, Buffalo. Beautiful place. Trust me. Do not listen to Dan Marino. Buffalo's a nice place to be. All right.
Okay.
Who is your stud?
My stud, number 13, the then St. Louis Rams select defensive tackle Aaron Darnold out of Pittsburgh, and that's
It is. No.
then it's a wrap. It's a wrap.
I thought I'd leave the low-hanging fruit for you there.
I thought you were going to go number 16. I thought you were going to go with the Cowboys and Zach Martin.
No.
I thought that's where you were going.
I'm going to be a homer there coming up soon. But
You wanted to save it. I got it. I
can't be a homer every time. Even though, believe it or not, the Cowboys wanted Aaron Donald. They settled for Zach Martin.
I mean, that's a pretty good settle, not going to lie.
Now, my bus could have been one of 2 players. Both picked by the same team. Because this team had a historic, terrible draft. I think you know which team I'm talking about. Now,
Is
no.
it?
One of these players, as bad as he is, actually probably has better highlights than this other player. So I'm picking Justin Gilbert. Dang, that University of Oklahoma State hit again.
They're just producing busts.
This guy, like, he was a top-rated corner coming out, and he got on the field in the NFL and didn't know what he was doing. Had no clue on an NFL football field. Well, did he even last 3 years? I don't even know. If you're wondering, the other player I could have picked was Johnny Manziel, but I didn't.
So
Who was your bust, Sean?
Time for my bust. You know, I've been riding the Jacksonville Jaguar train, and y'all took Blake Bortles at number 3, okay?
I still don't consider that a bust, though. He did take him to the playoffs.
I know, and neither do I. So, Jacksonville, I'm giving you a break this time. I'm going to skip you.
It's not a great pick.
Wasn't it? Yeah, it certainly wasn't a
But
great
it's not a complete bust.
Wasn't complete bust. Not like the guy who was taken at number 22 out of Texas A&M, Johnny Manziel.
Like I said, had to be one or two players.
Yep. Johnny Manziel.
Johnny
football. I wonder how he's doing in the fan-controlled football league.
How were people enamored with this guy?
He's got the swagger. He can make the electrifying plays.
Does he really?
In college, he could.
In college, he just looked like a chicken with his head cut off that got lucky to me. To be honest, I never liked his tape. I did not. He looked like he was just a spasmatic out there.
I mean, that's probably a big reason why he fell all the way to 22.
Now, that being said, the steals. Now, my guy over here putting a lot of hate at them Jacksonville Jaguars. And again, I know the player I'm about to pick. He shortened his career. He retired early. But in his time, he was fantastic. I'm talking about Telvin Smith. Jacksonville found a major steal, diamond in the rough, with Telvin Smith in this draft. I believe it was in the 4th round.
No, it was 5th round. He was pick number 144. Yeah.
I didn't look up Telvin's school, so I'm looking it up now.
Ah.
Florida State.
Florida State.
Look at that. All right. You're up for your steal.
Oh, my steal. I don't know. These couple drafts have just been hard trying to find those later round steals, so I'm not going very far. I'm going 2nd rounds.
God.
I know. I'm going to try and do better next time. But 2nd rounds, pick number 53, the Green Bay Packers select Davante Adams from Fresno State.
I'll let you get a homer here. Even though he's not really a steal, but I'll let you get a homer here.
I know. I mean, who else was in this draft who could have been considered a late round steal? I mean, this draft was really had a lot of talent in the top. I mean, you could argue someone like Devontae Freeman to Atlanta in the 4th round, but was his career very long?
No, I canceled that out.
Yeah, so low-hanging fruit.
Trey Turner.
Homer.
Trey Turner.
I'll give you that one.
But, all right, moving on to my fun for the 2015 draft. Every player I pick plays the same position. So my stud, this is going to be funny because this is a team 2 years in a row has my best stud out of both drafts, yet they traded them away. They traded them away the same year, I believe. Yes, this is my homer. I'm taking Amari Cooper. I don't care what you say. Amari Cooper's a stud. Has been a stud since the moment he came in the league. Yes, he had a little bit of lullaby 1 year. But beyond that, he has been a major stud.
Absolutely.
And out of Alabama. He's probably the best, the second best receiver to come out of Bama. Oh, hot take.
I know. Devontae Smith, number 1. I get it.
Come on now. You know who. I mean, I guess in the last 10 years, I should say the last 10 years. Because, there's this massive freak of a man in Atlanta who holds that title.
Calvin Ridley. I know, Julio Jones. What am I? No. Yikes. Wrong Alabama guy. Oh. See Georgia.
All right, your stud.
My stud. Ooh, I had a hard time between these two. I have two guys. One guy was going to be Washington guard Brandon Scherff, who was taken number 5 out of Iowa.
I thought about Brandon Scherff also.
Yeah, I mean, he's got a great career so far, right? I mean, it's risky business taking a guard that high in the draft, but I think he might have come out of Iowa as a tackle.
Quentin Nelson.
Yeah, I mean, he made the best of it. He's made, Pro Bowl 4 times in 6 seasons, made his first All-Pro.
But it's not Brandon Scherff.
Nope, it's not. It's going to be the guy that's, I feel close to because he led me to several fantasy championships. And number 10, the then St. Louis Rams select running back Todd Gurley III out of Georgia.
I'll give you this because I'm probably going to do it in the next draft.
Yep. I just kept going. Todd Gurley. Todd Gurley.
Fell off a cliff, man.
But what do you expect? You can't give the running back the ball that many times and expect him to keep on running. They hit that wall.
What about LaDainian Tomlinson?
Different breed.
True.
Different breed.
By the way, Todd Gurley might have been his championship guy. LT was mine. All right. My bust. So if you know, it's going to be a wide receiver. And I'm sorry, Chicago. I giveth and I taketh away. Kevin White. This dude played 5 games? I think he's still out there somewhere trying to get on, but I mean, I saw this movie. They call me Mr. Glass. Dude was broken every time you touched him.
Yeah, I mean, how much foreshadowing do we see here? This was Ryan Pace's very first draft pick. And he was just a medical catastrophe from the start. Oh, jeez. Out of West Virginia. There we go. Wide receiver, Kevin White. Man, honestly, I was going to give Jacksonville a break here and pick Kevin White too, but since you already picked Kevin White,
oh no,
I'm going back to Jacksonville. And it's for your number...
Beautiful place.
Yeah. Here it's very beautiful there, yeah. Number 3, Jacksonville Jaguars select defensive end Dante Fowler, Florida.
See, I wasn't going to go with Dante Fowler because he's had a reminiscent of a career. Just not with Jacksonville.
Exactly, but that's how I'm looking at it. You got to pay off for... How did you do for the team that drafted you, the team that invested a number 3 pick into you? And it's amazing how many of these top 10 picks have been blown by Jacksonville. Now, you could argue that Justin Blackmon wasn't a blown pick necessarily because off-field stuff that happened after he was drafted. Who knows if there were the red flags that you could have seen during any of the interviews or any of the, anything leading up to the draft. So if you exclude him, but all these other players that they drafted, top 10, very high. How many of these just didn't pan out? You're figuring his rookie year, tore an ACL in the preseason, missed his entire rookie year, comes back, plays all 16 games in his second season, only starts 1. You're not drafting a guy number 3 so he can just start 1 game for you.
Well, my buddy, who knows a little bit about playing defensive end, he told me when he saw the video, He's like, he got injured because he was using bad technique.
And it's amazing because you're thinking, number 3, let's see, Jacksonville drafted Dante Fowler. At number 6 was Leonard Williams. I think that year for the mock, I had Leonard Williams mocked going to Jacksonville.
But I mean, even if you're taking that player, Vic Beasley went a little further down.
Yeah.
Now note, there's going to be my jersey, one of my jerseys I'm going to get next. One guy who, if it wasn't for Alex Smith, probably would have had, if it wasn't for Alex Smith or the league hatred of people with mental health, would have had a comeback player of the year. But a guy who's got his life turned around, playing for the Cowboys now, Randy Gregory. Can you believe this? Randy Gregory is looking like his career's about to take off. And then you got Dante Fowler, Vic Beasley, and Shane Ray. All, where are they? I mean, I know Vic Beasley's on the team, but none of them are looking like the players that they were drafted as. Above Gregory, who everybody took a dump on. Just wanted to say that. Now,
all right, who's your steal?
To the steal, again, wide receiver, Stephon Diggs, out of Maryland, going to those Minnesota Vikings. He's been a stud for the Vikings, and he stepped his game up to another level for the Bills last year.
Yep, I had 2 guys down, both from the Vikings. The first one was Stephon Diggs, so I'm going to go with my second guy. I got to jump up to the 3rd round, though, so he's not one of those late round steals. Number 88, Vikings select Danielle Hunter from LSU.
Danielle Hunter's a good steal.
Solid. And I hate seeing it because he gets to play Green Bay twice a year, so I hate seeing it. But you got to give him respects.
All right, so that's our segments. Let us know if you agree with our studs and duds and steals. Yell at us if we picked on your team too much. You know, me with the Bears or Sean with Jacksonville over there. I think I was all over the place, though. But my Bear fan buddies are probably still going to get me. So, Sean, words of wisdom time.
Ooh, words of wisdom. Oh man, Urban Meyer, don't screw this up. I don't want to be talking about you in like 3 to 4 years when it comes back to reviewing this 2021 draft. Trevor Lawrence. Don't think twice. Trevor Lawrence.
Well, I mean, that's a given. All right. I don't know if this is part of my injury the other day, but when you're lifting heavy objects, lift with your legs, not with your back.